I'm Chris Solo, and welcome to Fabled 42, where we build community through friendship, gaming, and chaos. This is Quests and Answers, where we go on the quest to find the answers. Today we are talking about the Bard class in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and I have a special guest with me today is Lizzy. Where can everybody find you, Lizzy?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TheLizzyLD. Awesome. That's Lizzy with a Y.
Thank you very much. Very, very happy to have you to talk about all things Bard, one of my favorite classes that I didn't even know I needed in my life. So let's just start at the top. We know that you like to play Bards. Cerise being one of the keynotes, but there have been others as well. So when you pick your Bard, what is your process? How do you decide what kind of Bard you want to be?
So when I've picked bards in the past, I usually try and I think about the campaign I'm going to play, right? I really want to make him integrated to the world. For Cerise, I wanted to like pull all of the magical secrets in that I could. So I went with the College of Lore Bard. Actually, the first bard I ever played, I played in a Curse of Strahd campaign in 3.5. And I played a prestige class bard, which was a dirge singer, which is like specifically good for dealing with undead.
Okay.
Yeah, and like when I was making a bard for one shot recently, I was like, ooh, I want to be like Spy, so I'm gonna do a College of Whispers bard. You know, I like to think about the flavor and like the RP aspect.
And so when breaking down the Bard, right, the Bard is very much a utility class. Do you play the Bard in that regard? Or do you go with a lot of offensive things, or are you really a sit back and help kind of manage the encounter?
I love playing utility characters. I like being good out of combat. Out of combat's my favorite part of D&D. And so like when I made Cerise, I was like, what are all sorts of weird things I could do? So I was like, I'm gonna steal the spell Reverse Gravity in one of my things because I was like, that's gonna be fun. Like, what kind of chaos can I sow? That being said, I never want to be in melee as a bard, but I do like having a few good like boomy spells, I guess.
Yeah, I've kind of run into a similar thing because, like, you know, I don't sing, I don't play instruments. Sure, I can do some poems and stuff, but like not a lot on the fly, which is why eloquence I think works, because I am like a motivational speaker in a sense, so that kind of fits my personality, and then I can still get to be a bard. But I realize a lot, whether it's Riverbreak or Realms, it's technically the same character, that he doesn't have a lot of offensive stuff, and the offensive stuff I have in Riverbreak were items that were given to me from Art, which I don't have in Realms because he doesn't have those items yet. So it was, especially yesterday, like I didn't even realize I had a melee weapon, like when I had to do, because I failed the save or whatever, to attack one of the party members, and I'm like, oh, I do have a rapier. You know, like, so it's funny.
Which party member was it that you had to attack?
I think it was you, yeah.
Yeah. Stab me through with a rapier.
It hit really hard too.
You did.
But yeah, so like, you know, picking these different things, and because bards are just so utility, and like that's the name of the game. They're the jack of all trades. They can do all the things. I always forget about that ability, the jack of all trades ability, because there's always
it applies to so much,
and then just completely overlook it. I mean, I've seen a lot of bards overlook it. Yeah, and it's just kind of a funny thing. Yeah,
because it's interesting. Like, it applies to initiative, which is so clutch, and then it also applies to things with certain spells you can borrow, like counterspell, and I think like anything that's like a magical ability check, which you don't have in your bard spell list, but because you have magical what is it called? Magical secrets.
Yes.
The entire spell list is your spell list if you figure it out.
That's true, and I haven't even messed with that, not even a little bit. And you know, that kind of jumps into the next segment, is the spells. So there's quite a range of things. Yeah. What are some of the ones that you really enjoy to play, to use?
I mean, I really do enjoy the magical secrets aspect, and like trying to figure out what you can build towards, like I was mentioning, like Reverse Gravity. Like a lot of the most exciting spells for me were ones that I stole. Like I love stealing Spirit Guardians from the Cleric class. Like I can pull in the best elements from other classes I've played. Like, but some specific bard spells that I do like. I mean, heat metal is clutch.
That is a good one.
Um, I
Very
don't think I got to
situational,
use it
but
too
it's
much
really
as
good.
Cerise
Yeah.
because like at that point we were pretty high level and I had other things. But like especially in the early game, it's a really good one. I enjoy some of the enchantment magic like you with like you have a lot of control as a bard.
Yeah.
And there's like it's sort of interesting. You can sort of choose like especially at the higher levels you get like everything from like time stop to like power word kill because you get all of those like word spells, right? Which makes sense as a bard.
Yeah.
So like healing word is always super clutch too. It's like a great bonus action.
Absolutely.
Always have that on your spell list.
Always. I mean, because of my modified rules with allowing people to do spells at lower level, having Cure Wounds and Healing Word comes in handy when everyone is dying. Which, it does make sense too when you take the at least 2 levels or 3 levels in Warlock and you become a Bard Lock, which is why it's so popular, is because then you have offensive things. Like Eldritch Blast, because it doesn't matter how many levels of Warlock you have, you get 4 beams at level 20 regardless. So it's really good. It's a good mix, and then it adds all those other flavors and things that you can just really stack your character.
Yeah, I mean, bards do have Vicious Mockery, and I feel like the audience is screaming, why haven't you said Vicious Mockery yet? Yes. I personally don't play with Vicious Mockery because I don't like being too often. But
I don't even have it.
Or like when I played Cerise in particular, I didn't take that cantrip because I was like, Cerise doesn't do that.
Yeah, so the reason why Nico or Roland didn't take it is because College of Eloquence bards get to do something that's more nasty than that, which is the using the bardic inspiration to essentially insult them, and they take that. So that would be. It just didn't seem like it. Why would I do Vicious Mockery and this, right? So it just seems like it was, kind of the same thing. But that is super nasty. I know I've talked about this in other things before, where I roll a d8 and then you take that away from your next saving throw, which would be the next spell I cast, like Polymorph or whatever, which is it ends up being a really nasty combination.
Yeah. Because bards are all about the saving throws. I remember,
absolutely, yeah.
I remember when you were making Cerise for me, you gave me like a Wand of War Magic, and I'm like, take that away. I do not have a single roll to attack spell.
That's fair. Yeah, and that was before I really understood bards, and and then actually like diving into it, and like, even the bardic inspiration is just such a clutch thing, and I don't know if other bard classes have the unfailing inspiration or if that's just an eloquence thing. But
I think that's an eloquence feat.
Because that makes it even more nasty. Other classes have
different things that happen with their inspiration.
Yeah.
But
would you have examples of that?
Off the top of my head, I do not remember. I was actually just flipping through it on D&D Beyond, but
I was as well. But yeah, I mean, it kind of it's fun seeing the different flavors, because like of all the classes to choose from, and then you look at Bard, the flavor of all the different subclasses are just so wide. Like you could really, and even in each class, you could even flavor even more on your own, which makes it your own thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the beauty about bards. Like they can be whatever you want them to be. Like we were saying, like you don't. All the bard's default spell list is all like control spells and utility, but if you want to use your magical secrets to like get a whole bunch of blasty like point attack spells, you can do that, and then you become much more of a warcaster. Yeah. And there are some of the ones that are like, you have the College of Valor if you still want to be in melee and you just want to stab people while insulting them, and you got a lot of options.
Yeah, it's a really good combination. So yeah, that being said, so we've talked about our choices for what the characters that we chose. So now someone out there who's watching and is interested in playing a bard, what advice would you have for them?
I mean, my advice, just think about, because you have so many options, it can be overwhelming. So for me, like I said, for my process of picking, is I like to think about what the campaign wants. Like what's missing in the party. Part of when I had Cerise, you told me like there are a lot of people who don't heal, so I'm like, great, okay, I'll try and fill that niche a little bit and like make sure that my healing magic is up to snuff and I have greater restoration and I have all of these other things. Yeah. So you can look at what the party feels. You can look at what makes you excited. Like, when you play other classes and things, do you still want to be up in combat and doing a stabby stab? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to be a utility? Do you want to rain fire from the sky? The world is your oyster.
Yes. There's just so many fun combinations. So when we look and we break down different colleges of bards, it's just something fun because we've talked about wizards and the continuation of wizards, but eventually we will get to Bard College, which I think will be a completely different. Yes.
I mean, man, the wizards already have so much complicated love geometry.
I'm not ready for Bard College.
I'm not gonna. Actually, I do want to talk about that. So, when I started playing D&D, I didn't get involved in like the online community for D&D until I joined this network, and so I didn't really get just how entrenched this idea that bards were like sex feuds is, and I didn't actually understand that, like, when I first started playing with my original DM, that was the reason he didn't want people playing bards and he hated the bard class, was because of these like stereotypes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so like after 2 or 3 years of playing, like when I first signed up, I was like, I want to play a bard, and he was like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, like fine. And like I mentioned like 3 years after playing with him, and I was like, oh yeah, I still really want to play a bard, but I know you don't like him. And he's like, you know what? No, it's okay. You can play a bard. Yeah. And like I ended up playing a Fey bard, and when I played Cerise, right, like I played her like she had never had her first kiss yet. Like she was so innocent and naive about like that sort of thing. And there's just all these stereotypes about bard, like they're gonna be horny, or like you have to be a good singer. And the thing about bards, especially with all of these different classes, you really don't. You really can put aside those stereotypes.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of the the nature of all of these these segments, is to kind of break that, because like Jason and I were talking about the fighter class and how everyone plays fighters as dumb, but I'm like, most fighters are not dumb, especially if in combat. Like if you are a soldier, like you might be dumb in social interactions, sure, but like when you're in a combat field, like you're like, no, you go there, you flank from the left, you come from the north, like you need to kind of embody that. And I love breaking stereotypes, we all know this, but yeah, it's interesting too, because until The Witcher came out, everyone thought that bards in Hollywood and media were just like really like cheesy, not very charismatic, and not good at playing instruments or singing. And that was a bard, right? You'd always have someone playing an instrument and it's always out of tune, or they're whatever. Like those were always like the images in media, not necessarily D&D. But D&D is the other thing, because it's fantasy and we're all imagining to be amazing at all the things. And because I'm charismatic and I'm joking to you, I'm going to woo you out of your pants, right? So that's always like the mentality. But then you can still kind of get the best of both worlds when you have The Witcher and the character, I can't remember his name, but the amazing bard in that, where he was a good singer and he was a good musician, but then he was really awkward and really cheesy and not like the wooer, right? He's good at the music stuff, but he's not the wooer type. So like there's lots of fun directions to go when building any character specifically, but I never thought, I mean, I think I had a lot of the similar stereotypes when I was like, I don't want to be a bard. Like I can't sing and I don't want to sing. And I'm like, I started to go through those things. And then, I read through Eloquence and I was like, yep, that's me. That sounds amazing. And it's really fun to play too. So like being able to command, it's surprising actually that bards in D&D campaigns aren't leaders, because they definitely have that. They're in the command center and like triage
I think, oh gosh, somebody was saying that like bards sort of took the place in 4th edition of, and now I'm blanking what the name is.
Yeah.
If you know, write in the comments of what I'm talking about. But it's like a war. There was a class that was like it was basically like a leader class, and they would like, part of their thing was they were able to direct people on the battlefield. Okay. And like it was sort of a similar vibe with bards now. I also think like making them full casters in this really helps. And as a DM, if you want to help encourage your players to play bards, if you know somebody who's like the utility aspect and like the flexibility of bards interests me, but I feel intimidated about like my bard playing or singing, or like they don't want to like you can encourage them to do other kinds of performances. Like, actually, technically, the first bard I ever played, what her performance style was dance. And that was partially because there was like a magic item I really wanted to use. It was like war slippers or something in 3.5. So I was like, yeah, she dances and like plays the castanets, and this is how she inspires people.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun things. I mean, it could be a drum, right? It could be anything. Like, I mean, I know, like, I started way back when with my first bard technically was Styx, who played bagpipes. And, you know, I never played the bagpipes, and I would just do his voice and just kind of sing. And I overdid it, right? Because, like, my singing isn't terrible, but it's not bard singing. But doing it in character's voice helped get past the comfort. Everyone's like, you know, that's the theme, right? So he's a bard by, like, inspiring you to, like, do whatever you need to do, so he stops playing. Like, that was the mindset of, like, oh my God, he's telling us to go do this thing. We need to do it, so he turns those bagpipes off. Please. And that was the way he inspired people to do what he needed to do. And it was a fun mechanic, and he was grumpy, and he was fun. Yeah, I mean, and I've joked with people, like, especially if you're playing at home, who cares, right? You get clips of bagpipes playing, and you hit play, and then you're playing the bagpipes, right? Like, I try to do that with the, ocarina, is that what it is? Because I got an ocarina, and I have no time to learn how to play that. But I was going to pretend I was playing it and hit play. And, you know, like, you'd hear me like, you know, whatever. But, you know, copyrights or whatever. But, you know, there's a lot of fun things. And that's the point, is you're bringing this energy, right? You're bringing all of this energy. You're bringing I mean, it could be good energy and bad energy. Because I know there was a fun character that I was wanting to play, which is a bard with... I mean, mechanically he would have charisma, but roleplay-wise he wouldn't have charisma, where he would be, like, really, really awkward and very shy and, like, trying to be, like, the opposite of, like, how I normally play characters, and then trying to just kind of get out of my comfort zone to play something different. But, you know, there's so many fun combinations.
Yeah, and, I mean, and now, you know, we're spending a lot of time saying, like, you don't have to do this. But when you do, like, have a song or something that you've, like, either learned or, like, made up for the party, like, that's usually a pretty big moment for people.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was DMing a home game, and, like, my Dragonborn Bard player, like, secretly learned the ukulele for months to, like, come play a song.
That's huge.
Yeah, and it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like karaoke, right? Like, you don't want to be an amazing thing, but when you get up there and do it, everyone's like, ooh, right? You know, Jason during the prom recordings doing his Irish pub chant thing. I mean, he also has a really good voice, and he's played instruments before, too, on streams. But it was just fun to see someone kind of just jump out of their comfort zone and try to do it. And I've tried to do it a few times, and I've just, and then just stop and then just say something really weird and awkward, because, like, I have something, I'm like, do it, Chris, just do it. And then I don't do it because I chicken out. But yeah, I mean, it's just fun, and that's what this game is, right? It's about having fun and being able to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I promise, like, you know, people don't expect you to be a rock star. No. If you do something cool for your party, especially if you, like, make the song about them, if you write, like, a little talk about how awesome they are, like, they don't care. Yeah, right? God, yeah, when he did The Witcher.
Yeah, that was great. That was really, really good when Eddie did that. So, you know, we're rolling out of time here. So in 30 seconds, what is your favorite Bard college and why? My favorite Bard college is College of Lore. I really like the College of Lore because it's sort of the most flexible. Like I said, some of the most exciting spells that I play are the ones that I steal from other schools. And I tend to like playing know-it-all kind of characters who, you know, just are able to draw on lore, because that's, like, how I like to play. So that's my favorite college. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Lizzy. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the LizzyLD. And everyone, tell me in the comments, what's your favorite? What's your favorite?
Please. Yes, so thank you all so much for watching this episode of Quests and Answers, where we go on a quest to find your answers. And I am Chris Solo. You can find me at DM Chris Solo and all the social medias. If you enjoyed what you watched, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time for Quests and Answers.